Today we want to try and beat every single Pokemon champion, and there is a lot of them, as Nurse Joy. What if Nurse Joy decided that she's sick of healing Pokemon and wants to become a champion herself, using Pokemon like Chansey, Wigglytuff, and Comfey? Could she do it? Let's find out. If a Pokemon faints, it's gone from the whole run, and I can't use any items in battle. Full rules are in the description below. First up is Pokemon Yellow, and we have the champion for this game, Blue. It's a familiar matchup for our Chansey, and we have a Wigglytuff who also has great coverage for his team, so I'm not too worried. Blue's lead is Sandslash, and we lead off with our powerhouse Chansey. Turn 1 we outspeed and hit an Ice Beam that just straight up takes Sandslash out. Not a bad start. Blue's second Pokemon is Alakazam, and boy oh boy is this thing annoying. It spams Kinesis, lowering our accuracy as our Thunderbolt does around half. He then just recovers as we paralyze him with a Thunderbolt. On the Thunderbolt that would knock him out, we start missing back to back. So I decide to go into Wigglytuff. On the switch, he Kinesis Wigglytuff too. Fantastic. Our Thunderbolts are doing even less damage than Chansey's was, and he just wants to Kinesis and recover. I decide then that Chansey is our best way to take him out, so I swap back into her on the sidekick, which thanks to our bulk does absolutely nothing. We freeze an Ice Beam, bringing Alakazam low, and he connects another Kinesis. Thankfully we connect one more attack, and down goes Alakazam. Third up, Blue chooses Executor. Chansey's special coverage is fantastic, so a super effective flamethrower does a hefty amount to the three-headed plant as he hits a stomp for a little more damage. One more fiery attack and that's a third Pokemon down. Blue now sends out Cloyster. Alakazam's Kinesis comes back to hurt us here as we miss a Thunderbolt. Cloyster's Aurora Beam does a little damage to us and we're nearly at half. The following turn we land a Thunderbolt and take down Cloyster in just one attack. Blue's fifth Pokemon is Ninetales. I give Wigglytuff more time to shine and swap into her on the incoming Tail Whip. Ninetales now hits a quick attack, but we are pretty bulky too. A Water Gun critical hits, but doesn't do half as Ninetales just keeps quick attacking us. We exchange a few more Water Guns and Tail Whips before Wigglytuff takes down the Fiery Fox. Blue's last Pokemon is his ace, Jolteon. He Thunder Waves us, paralysing us as we miss our Sing. Then he connects a 5-turn pin missile and we're nearly at half as our sidekick does an okay chunk. Jolteon quick attacks us and we are paralysed, and now we're getting pretty low with no way to recover. So we swap back to Chansey. A quick attack puts us at half and then he Thunder Waves us. Our Ice Beam is looking like a 2-hit knockout and Jolteon thunders, bringing us lower as we get Parahaxed. Thankfully he misses his next Thunder and we connect an Ice Beam to defeat our first champion of the run, but there's plenty more to go. Let's move to Generation 2. Lance is a champion of Johto and the next we face. I've added Meganium to the team here as I quite fondly remember something about Ash's Grovyle and Nurse Joy's Meganium. Lance is really weak to ice moves and luckily our Pokemon have ice type coverage. Let's give it a shot. Lance leads off with Gyarados and we lead off with our Wigglytuff. Wigglytuff is out for destruction and our Thunderbolt straight up takes Gyarados out as it's 4 times weak to electric. Lance now chooses his level 47 Dragonite. We outspeed and a freezing Ice Beam is enough to destroy the first of his dragons, giving Wigglytuff its second knockout. Third, Lance chooses another Dragonite. It suffers the exact same fate though, and being dragon flying it has no chance to survive our Wigglytuff's destruction. Fourth, Lance uses Aerodactyl, the prehistoric dinosaur. A Rock Slide does great damage and causes us to flinch. He then fires off a Hyper Beam, bringing Wigglytuff to just below half. After that, we can fire off our own freezing Ice Beam for yet another one-hit knockout. This now brings out Charizard. I decide to play it risky here, thinking we might be faster, but we're not, and a flamethrower brings us to only 44 HP. A critical hit and we would have lost our first Pokemon. Our Thunderbolt doesn't take out Charizard, but it brings him low, so we've got to swap. I go into Chansey on the incoming flamethrower as it doesn't do too much to us at all. The next turn, Charizard goes for a Hyper Beam and it does an incredible amount of damage to us and puts us at half before we finish it off with a Thunderbolt. Lance's only Pokemon left is his level 50 Dragonite. I'm feeling confident, so we go for an Ice Beam, but we don't take it out in one move. In return, Dragonite Hyper Beams us, the damage isn't stopping and I'm panicking, and we survive on only 11 HP before Chansey takes out Dragonite. That was incredibly close there. What started off as an easy fight nearly turned into a game over. Let's get out of here and move on to Generation 3, where 2 champions await us. In Pokemon Ruby, Steven is the champion. His team is pretty strong, and I think this is a fight Meganium can put in work with, as he's got a lot of rock-type Pokemon. Steven's lead is Skarmory, and our best lead, however, is definitely Chansey. Skarmory outspeeds us and sets up spikes to hurt us on the switch-in, but we fire off a flamethrower doing well over half to the Steel Bird. Skarmory hits a Steel Wing for a decent chunk of damage, and one more flamethrower and Chansey takes him out. Steven's second choice is the Bug Rock-type Armaldo. We have Water Pulse, so we go for that, and we deal good damage. Armaldo then throws rocks at Chansey, and thankfully he doesn't get a boost, but it still does a lot of damage. We heal up with Soft Boiled as he then goes for a slash, and he brings us back down. We Water Pulse again, and this time Armaldo gets confused. He then hits himself, and he's low enough for Steven to then heal, so we Soft Boiled, and we're both back to full HP. Now we trade Water Pulses and Ancient Powers all over again, and on the second Water Pulse we get another confusion, bringing Armaldo low again. We Soft Boiled for full HP as Armaldo hits himself in confusion. So with our final flamethrower, we take down the Ancient Bug and we're at full HP. Steven then chooses Claydol for his third Pokemon, and right away he sets up a Reflect, boosting his team's defense as our Water Pulse does about a quarter to him. Luckily we land a confusion again and Claydol hits himself as we Water Pulse again. The next turn Claydol breaks through the confusion and hits an Earthquake, and it does way more than I'm comfortable with. We bring him to a Sliver with another water attack, and now I know Steven's going to heal, so I heal too. Claydol Earthquakes and we hit him again, but now is the time to swap. I go into Meganium as Claydol sets up a Light Screen, which is perfect for us. Meganium can hit an Iron Tail and it does fantastic damage as Claydol's Earthquake does nothing to us. We hit another Iron Tail and Claydol's barely hanging on. I heal up as he lands a critical hit and we take him down with a Giga Drain. Next up is Cradilly and it has Sludge Bomb, so we swap to Wigglytuff. We then fire off an Ice Beam for around 75% as his Giga Drain puts us on half. One more freezing Ice Beam and down goes Cradilly. This now brings out Aggron. We swap back into Meganium as an Earthquake and Spikes does practically nothing. Here we just spam Giga Drain that constantly puts him in the red, and he goes for Dragon Claws that do nothing. We burn Steven's last 4 restores, and then we take down Aggron with an Earthquake, and this puts us at full HP for his last Pokemon, Metagross. Our Earthquake is just shy of doing half to him, and a Meteor Mash brings us close to half too. We Earthquake again and bring him to a Sliver as his Meteor Mash brings us to 31 HP. Steven's Berry activates, but it doesn't matter as one more Shake of the Ground from Meganium seals the fight, and Nurse Joy takes down champion number 3. Let's face Emerald's champion. Our second champion for Generation 3 is Wallace. He's a water type specialist. I know we have a Meganium, but I think Tentacruel is going to be an issue. However, we can add another Pokemon to our team in Jinx. There was a Nurse Joy in the Ice Cave that used one instead of a Chansey, so why don't we use one too? Wallace's lead is a powerful Wailord, and we lead off with Wigglytuff. Wailord sets up the rain, and then we put him to sleep turn 1 with a Sing. We then set up the sun, as Wailord thankfully stays asleep, and the next turn we fire off a huge Solar Beam, just missing out on the knockout. Wallace now full restores, but we get a better roll, and this time Wigglytuff sends a whale back to the deep. Now he's Tentacruel. It poisons us with Toxic, as Wigglytuff misses a Sing again. The second turn we get hit by a Sludge Bomb for great damage, and put it to sleep with Sing. Now we can unleash Jinx. We swap in, and we set up a Calm Mind, boosting our special attack and special defense. We then boost again, but Tentacruel wakes up, and a Sludge Bomb brings us to below half. We then fire off a 2 times boosted Psychic to take out the Tentacruel in just one move. Wallace now sends out Ludicolo, but we are still faster, and a times 2 boosted Psychic takes him out also. Wallace's 4th Pokemon is Whiscash. Our special attack stat is just way too good now, and Whiscash falls in a single move as well. Gyarados is Wallace's 5th Pokemon, but like those that stood before us, one move deals with Gyarados, and Jinx is just showing how powerful it is. This leaves Wallace's last Pokemon, Milotic. It is very bulky, so it actually survives the Psychic, but thanks to the special defense boost, a Surf only does a little bit of damage to us. So we can take down Milotic with a final Psychic, giving us a pretty easy victory for once over Wallace. That's us done with Generation 3, there's still plenty to do, so let's head over to Cynthia. Her team is still looking pretty scary, and this week we're back to Platinum. I'm curious to see how our team will face up, but we do have a Jinx, and I think I have a strategy in mind. Cynthia's lead is Spirit Tomb, and we lead off with Meganium. We are faster, and we set up a Leech Seed for passive damage and health recovery, as it hits a super effective Silver Wind. The next turn we can now poison Spiritomb as it goes for another Silver Wind. I synthesis off the missing HP as we dance with the devil and let him Silver Wind again. We fire off a Giga Drain, but we just miss out on the knockout as Spiritomb's Silver Wind finally gives him a raise in every single stat, but the goal succumbs to Leech Seed damage, so it doesn't get any benefit from it. Cynthia's second Pokemon is Togekiss. I swap into Chansey to eat the incoming flying move, and we do eat it quite well. I now swap into Jinx on the fighting type move, and it's an okay switch in. Jinx Ice Beam nearly takes out Togekiss in just one attack, but he lives and air slashes us to 60 HP. I know Cynthia will full restore, so it's prime time to set up a Calm Mind, boosting our special attack and special defense. Knowing I'm faster than most of her team now, we can unleash Jinx. A super effective Ice Beam one-hit KOs Togekiss. She sends out Roserade next, but there is zero chance it can survive, and it falls shortly too. Cynthia must see the kill with Garchomp, but I stay in, and we outspeed, and a boosted super effective Ice Beam destroys her ace. Lucario is Cynthia's 5th Pokemon, but it can't handle a boosted Psychic, and it falls to 1 Psychic attack as well. This leaves her last Pokemon Milotic. It's bulky, we know that, so I don't risk Jinx, and I swap into Meganium. Now Milotic sets up an Aqua Ring, but the issue is it has Ice Beam and Miracle, so we are not safe attacking it. Thankfully we connect to Leech Seed, as Milotic's Ice Beam brings us low. Then we go for a Poison Powder, risking a critical hit, but we survive on a Slither. Now we can Synthesis, and Milotic keeps Ice Beaming. It's slowly whittling away, but I choose to Synthesis rather than Giga Drain, and it's a good job too, as she does go for a Miracle that turn. We're full HP now, and I'm confident we can take it out in one move. So with a final Giga Drain, we end Milotic, beating Cynthia and Generation 4. There's still plenty more champions to go, so let's go to Unova. First up in Gen 5 is Alder. Like Cynthia, he's got a wide range of Pokemon with good typing. We can now add Ordino to our team as well. Bouffalant and Volcarona may be an issue, but if we can settle with Jinx, we can definitely win. So our lead is Wigglytuff, and Alder's lead is Aselgor. He goes for a me first, but we set up Stealth Rocks, so it fails. The next turn we get hit by a massive Focus Blast, and we land a Sing. That's just what we needed. Now we can swap into our beloved Jinx, and we start setting up Calm Minds. Aselgor stays asleep for 2 turns. On the 3rd turn, we Calm Mind again, and he wakes up and hits a super effective Bug Buzz that still does nearly half considering our stat boost. Now we can take out Aselgor in a single Ice Beam. Alder sends out Volcarona next, and after Stealth Rocks it's already at 50%, so a Psychic takes down the enormous threat to our team. Bouffalant the Buffalo's out now, and I decide to play it really risky and go for a Focus Blast. Thankfully we connect, so that's a Buffalo down in just one move as well. Vanillux is Alder's next Pokemon, and we connect yet another Focus Blast, and that gives us another one-hit knockout. Escavalier is Alder's next Pokemon, and I don't think anything we have can knock it out in one hit, except for Focus Blast, and I really don't want to risk my luck again and lose Jinx, so we swap into Ordino. Escavalier's X-Scissor does a good chunk to us, but we now outspeed, and his super effective Flamethrower takes out the Steel Bug. Druddigon is Alder's last Pokemon. It hits a superpower that leaves us on only 10 HP, as our Ice Beam brings it to the yellow. That was close. We've got to switch, so I go into Meganium and we tank a Night Slash quite easily. With an Earthquake, Meganium finishes off Alder and gives us our 1st Generation 5 victory. But there's still one more champion to go. Iris is that other champion, and the majority of her Pokemon are dragons. We have solid Ice type coverage, but defensively our Pokemon might not hold up. Let's give it a shot. Iris's lead is Hydreigon, and we lead off with our Jinx, who's proved to be a real powerhouse so far. We outspeed Hydreigon, and a super effective Ice Beam claims another knockout for Jinx. Iris then sends out Druddigon as her second Pokemon, but it suffers the same fate as Hydreigon, and goes down to a single Ice Beam too. Now she sends out her ace Haxorus. It's a major problem as it has a Focus Sash, and it will just take out Jinx in one move, so we have to switch. I go into Wigglytuff as he goes for an X-Scissor. We can then take an Earthquake that puts us super low and connect to Sing. While he's sleeping, I swap into Ordino. The next turn, Haxorus wakes up, but Ordino takes an Earthquake relatively well, and we put him in the yellow with an attack. One more Earthquake, and we hold on, and we can take down Haxorus with another Ice Beam. Aggron is Iris's next Pokemon. We swap out into Meganium, who practically walls this thing, and we take a Double Edge. We Giga Drain that does over half to him as he sets up an Automize, raising his speed. The next turn, Meganium takes out Aggron with another grass move. Iris now sends out Lapras. It's weak to Giga Drain though, and takes over half from it too. Luckily we dodge a Sing, I know that feeling. Now I want to swap. If we take out Lapras, Archeops will just destroy something on my team with an Acrobatics. The only Pokemon that's faster is Jinx, so we swap into her. Lapras's Ice Beam does nothing on the switch. The next turn we connect a super effective Focus Blast to deal with Lapras. This leaves Iris's last Pokemon Archeops, and as I thought, we are faster, and a final Ice Beam and we defeat Iris in Generation 5. It's time to go to Generation 6. Diantha is the champion of Kalos and who we take on next. Most of her Pokemon are weak to Jinx though, so I'm expecting her yet again to put in some solid work. Hawlucha is Diantha's lead, and I lead off with our MVP of the run, has to be Jinx. With a super effective Ice Beam, Hawlucha falls pretty easily. Diantha's second Pokemon is the T-Rex Tyrantrum. It's a Rock and Dragon type, so another super effective Ice Beam from our Jinx picks up a second knockout. Third, Diantha sends out Gudra. It's got great bulk, so it survives an Ice Beam and retaliates with a Fire Blast, doing way over half to Jinx. Diantha full restores, but we're definitely going to take it out in 2 more hits, so the following turn Jinx picks up its third knockout of the fight with another Ice Beam. Diantha sends out Galgeist, and for once it's a threat to us. A Shadow Sneak most likely kills us, so we swap into Ordino, as it did in fact go for a sneaky Ghost type move. We are slower than Galgeist, and she tricks and treats us, giving us a Ghost type, but our Flamethrower just misses out on the knockout. Diantha uses another full restore here, but we bring it back down. Galgeist hits a critical hit Seed Bomb before succumbing to the flames. Her next Pokemon is Aurorus. It always sets up screen, so I'm going to risk it and swap into Meganium, as it does in fact light screen. Meganium lands a Toxic as Aurorus connects a Blizzard, putting us on 69 HP. We won't be able to do much with light screen up, so I Synthesis and regain our HP as Aurorus misses a Blizzard. Now I go for an Earthquake. We do a great amount as we eat another Blizzard, barely hanging on, but toxic damage doesn't quite take him down. Diantha now full restores Aurorus, clearing the poison and healing as we Synthesis back. The light screen goes off, so we go for a Giga Drain and we critical hit, healing ourselves to full and taking down Aurorus in 1 move. This leaves only 1 Pokemon left now, and that is Gardevoir. Diantha Mega Evolves and hits a Moonblast, lowering our special attack, but my plan is to put it on a timer with Toxic, and thankfully we connect. Now we can swap into Chansey, who can take anything it throws at us, and let toxic damage start to rack up. We exchange some weak Flamethrowers and Moonblast as she keeps lowering our special attack, but when Gardevoir's in the yellow, I go for a last Flamethrower, critically hit in, and with toxic damage, Gardevoir is no more, giving us a Gen 6 victory. Let's sail to Alola. How is the person we fight to become champion here, and his team is always scary. We can now add another fairy type to our team in Comfy too, but I think this is another fight for Jinx. How's lead is an Alolan Raichu, and our best answer is Jinx. It actually outspeeds us, and a Thunderbolt does just over half as we set up a Calm Mind. I think we can live 1 more, so I stay in and go for an Ice Beam, but it's actually a speed tie. We outspeed and take down Raichu with an Ice Beam. How's second Pokemon then is Incineroar. I have 0 switch-ins, it will kill something. We're at a +1 special attack and I have Focus Blast. We land it and critical hit, and that takes down Incineroar. That was super lucky, we probably would have lost someone there. Third is Crabominable. It's part fighting type, so a super effective Sidekick takes down the Ice Crab in 1 attack. How's fourth Pokemon is Tauros. I go for another risky play here in Focus Blast, but Jinx, being the MVP it is, lands, and that takes down Tauros too. Hal then sends out Noivern. I'm way too confident at this point, and Noivern is faster than us. A Dark Pulse brings us to only 12 HP, and Jinx takes it down with an Ice Beam. That was a close call yet again. Knowing Leafeon has a priority move, I swap into Ordino as he does go for a quick attack. Leafeon then outspeeds, and a Leaf Blade does a lot more than I hoped for as our Flamethrower brings him to the red. Hal will now full restore, so we fire off another Flamethrower and we get the burn. This doesn't matter though, as Hal decides to use another full restore before we bring Leafeon all the way back down. Thinking Hal's out of full restore, I swap into Comfy here. He has 1 more, so Leafeon is now back at full HP again. Leafeon goes for a Baby Doll Eyes, which does nothing to us, and our Dazzling Gleam does way over half. Leafeon then hits a Leaf Blade, taking Comfy to half before we can take down Leafeon and beat Hal with a final Dazzling Gleam. That fight went a lot better than I thought. Honestly, Jinx is crazy. Let's move on to the Switch games. First up is Trace from Let's Go Pikachu. His Pokemon only have 3 moves, but we have to downgrade our team to just 3 Pokemon. Thankfully, these games are pretty easy, and our Pokemon have great AVs, so we're only going to use Wigglytuff. If it falls, it falls. Let's do this. Trace's lead is Pidgeot and we lead off with Wigglytuff. We are faster thanks to our AVs and one super effective Thunderbolt takes care of Bird Jesus. Second, Trace sends out Vileplume. We have great move coverage so a fiery flamethrower destroys Vileplume in one move as well. Third is Rapidash. We don't quite take it out in one Thunderbolt so Rapidash retaliates with a Flare Blitz that does a little bit of damage and takes recoil. Trace now full restores his Rapidash and we just bring it back down with a Thunderbolt. One more electric attack and down goes his third Pokemon. Fourth, he sends out Jolteon. Our Ice Beam brings him to half and he connects a Thunder bringing us close to half too, and he gets the Paralyze. Jolteon now connects a second Thunder bringing us even lower and we get Parahaxed. Jolteon connects a third Thunder and now it's looking bad as we get Paralyzed yet again. Finally, Jolteon misses and we connect an Ice Beam to finish off his starter. Next up is Slowking. Thanks to max speed EVs, we still outspeed while paralysed and can one hit knock it out with an electric attack. Last but not least is Marowak. We get paralysed and a Boomerang does good damage to us. We then don't get paralysed and can finish Trace with one more Ice Beam. That was getting scary at the end, but Wigglytuff lives to see another day. Let's move on to Generation 8. The champion for Sword and Shield is Leon. His team is pretty strong and we swap out Meganium now with Indeedee. We can make a few sacrifices on this fight if we need to, but hopefully we don't. Leon's lead is his Aegislash and we lead off with Wigglytuff. Why a fairy into a steel type, you may ask? 2 words. Stealth and Rocks. So Aegislash actually doesn't King Shield and we set up Stealth Rocks, however he does hit a super effective Flash Cannon, nearly taking down our Wigglytuff. Now I know he's going to attack again, but he's frail in his sword stance, so Wigglytuff takes down Aegislash with a super effective Flamethrower. Haxorus is out and Comfey is my best switch in, so we go into our Fairy type. However, Haxorus critically hits an Iron Tail on the swap and that takes out Comfey, giving Nurse Joy her first death of the run. You wasn't with us long, Comfey, but you helped us in Alola, thank you. Let's give Indeedee some time to shine. We outspeed Haxorus and a super effective Dazzling Gleam destroys him. I'm sorry Indeedee, I wasn't familiar with your game. Inteleon is the next Pokemon and with an Energy Ball after Stealth Rocks, down goes Leon's Water Starter type 2. Dragapult is Leon's next Pokemon. He hits a Thunderbolt and paralyzes us as we get Parahaxed as per usual. He Thunderbolts again and we get Parahaxed again because of course we do. Dragapult then Flamethrowers putting us on only 51 HP before we finally connect to Dazzling Gleam, but it lives on literally 1 HP. Leon will heal now, so we've got to switch, and we go into our MVP of the run, Jinx. He's got 3 Pokemon left, so it's a great time to Dynamax our Jinx. With a Max Hailstorm, we obliterate the Ghost Dragon and set up the Hail. Leon's 5th Pokemon is Mr. Rhyme, the dancing Mr. Mime. It takes Stealth Rocks damage, and then I go for a Max Knuckle, but it doesn't do too much damage, and it raises our attack. Mr. Rhyme confuses Jinx with a Teeter Dance, because it's not a PokeHound run without some sort of confusion. Thankfully, Jinx breaks through the confusion and finishes off Mr. Rhyme with a Max Knuckle. Now this leaves his last Pokemon, Charizard, that immediately loses 50% of his HP thanks to Stealth Rocks. We lose our Dynamax and then Charizard Gigantamaxes. Jinx is actually faster and we break through and hit a Psychic, bringing him to the red as Charizard goes for a Max Rockfall, but somehow Jinx survives it. If we can break through confusion, we can finish off Charizard, and we do, leading Jinx to pick up its final knockout of the run, and what a Pokemon it's been. Let's finish off the challenge now with Generation 9. The last champion is Geeta for Generation 9. She has great type variety and some pretty cool Pokemon too. We can actually add just 1 Pokemon to our team here in Nuzleaf. I know it technically doesn't fit Nurse Joy's style, but she did own a Nuzleaf, so let's do this. Her lead is Espartha, and we lead off our last battle with Indeedee. We outspeed and smash a Shadow Ball into the Psychic Ostrich face as Espartha sets up a Reflect. With one more Shadow Ball, Indeedee can take the first of her Pokemon down. Geeta sends out King Gambit next, so we swap into our Wigglytuff. It's our best option. We outspeed and Flamethrower, and we get the burn. That's fantastic, as an Iron Head doesn't knock us out, but still does a tremendous amount of damage. We Flamethrower one more time, and that deals with a Bisharp evolution. Third is Avalugg. Not wanting Wigglytuff to die, I go into Chansey. Avalugg's special defense isn't so high, so a Flamethrower does over half, but a Body Press absolutely destroys Chansey, and that's our second death of the run. I go back out into Wigglytuff to finish off Avalugg with another Flamethrower. Geeta then sends out Go-Go, and I don't really have an answer for this thing either. I decide to Flamethrower, but we just miss out on the knockout with a critical hit, and we burn him again, as Go-Go actually just bulks up. That seals Adult's fate now, as one more flamethrower and Wigglytuff is bringing the heat yet again. Now Geeta goes into Veluza. We hit an energy ball, bringing it to the red, as Liquidation puts us on only 11 HP. We swap now into our fresh team member Nuzleaf, and we tank an Aqua Jet quite nicely. The next turn we outspeed and hit a super effective Giga Drain to finish off the fish. This leaves Geeta's last Pokemon and her ace Glamora. She terastallizes into a pure rock type, but Glamora is actually faster than Nuzleaf, and a Sludge Wave puts us on death number 3. Our last hope is in Didi. We outspeed Glamora and an energy ball brings her to half as Glamora retaliates with a Terror Blast, but we survive it, and quite nicely too. This means with our final energy ball we can take down Glamora, beating Geeta and beating every single Pokemon champion as Nurse Joy. So our total death count was a measly 3 for this run, and it's expected when you're Nurse Joy after all. It was definitely a challenging one, but as soon as we got Jinx, that made some fights super easy, and I really enjoyed using some Pokemon I normally wouldn't. If you like Pokemon content, leave a like and subscribe, it helps the channel a lot. As always, if you're still watching, I appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next one.